move on to the first slide, that is classification of living microorganisms. Okay, so before discussing about the classification of living microorganisms, at first we have to know how the all living microorganisms which are present in our world, they are classified. Then we will go to the living microorganisms. So at first we will go to the all living organisms. So all living organisms are classified into 5 kingdoms. So the scientist Whitaker first differentiate all the living microorganisms into 5 different kingdoms. So what are the kingdoms? So first is the Monera kingdom, then Protista, then Fungi, then Plantae, and then Animalia. So depending on the characteristics, he differentiate the living organisms or classified the living organisms into 5 kingdoms. So first is the, so at first how he differentiate the organisms. So at first any organism he take, then he classified those organisms based on their characteristics, and based on their characteristics, if an organism have the characteristics of prokaryotes, then he put them in prokaryotic section, and all the prokaryotic organisms are placed in the Monera kingdom. And if the organisms have the characteristics of eukaryotes, then he put all the microorganisms, all the living things on the eukaryotic section. So first section is the prokaryotic section, and all the prokaryotes are placed in the Monera group. Okay, this is the one kingdom, and all the living organisms which are present in the eukaryotic section, they are now further differentiated into 2 groups. One is the unicellular and another is the multicellular. So unicellular eukaryotic organisms are classified here and present and they placed in the Protista kingdom. Okay, okay, and in next the multicellular eukaryotic organisms who are multicellular, they are then further classified with the characteristics with cell wall and without cell wall. So eukaryotic organisms with multicellular, if they do not have any cell wall, then this type of organisms are placed in the Animalia group. Okay, and then the eukaryotic organism with multicellular, if they have cell wall, then they are classified on the basis of photosynthesis. So if they do not perform photosynthesis, then they are placed in the fungi group, and if they perform photosynthesis, then they are placed in the Plantae group. So in this way, the all the living microorganisms, or sorry, all the living organisms are placed in the 5 kingdom, that is Monera, where prokaryotes are placed, and next the Protista, where unicellulars are placed, and next that is the Animalia, where eukaryotic, multicellular and without cell wall organisms are placed, and then the Fungi, where eukaryotic, multicellular, with cell wall and do not perform photosynthesis. This type of characteristics contained in fungi. Okay, and the Plantae group contain the eukaryotes, then multicellular, then with cell wall and perform photosynthesis. Okay, so in this way Whittaker differentiate all the living organisms into 5 kingdom, and now we will discuss the classification of living microorganisms. Okay, so all the microorganisms are classified into 2 groups, that are acellular and cellular. So acellular means there is no cell, so they are not, they don't have any cell and have no cell membrane. So they don't have any cell membrane or cell. They are composed of few genes protected by protein coat. Okay, so they have only a DNA material and a protein cover. So example like viruses, all we know that, and they can live and reproduce only when inside a living cell. So inside a living cell only they can reproduce and live. Okay, so this is the acellular group, the microorganisms, and the cellular type microorganisms are further classified into prokaryotes and eukaryotes. So prokaryotic microorganisms have no nucleus, they don't have any nucleus and have no membrane bound organelles. So they don't have any membrane bound organelles like mitochondria, Golgi bodies, or ER complex. Okay, but prokaryotic microorganisms examples are bacteria and archaea. And eukaryotic microorganisms have true nucleus. They have a membrane bound nucleus and many membrane bound organelles like mitochondria, protoplast, ER complex, Golgi bodies. Okay, and eukaryotic microorganisms are examples are algae, protozoa, fungi. Okay, so this is the classification of microorganisms. Okay, acellular, cellular, and in cellular they are classified into prokaryotes and eukaryotic microorganisms. Okay, so move on to the